today we are going to be pouring a agarose gel for agarose gel electrophoresis. So this is the container of agarose. Agarose is similar to agar in that it will only go into solution when it is boiled. So we're going to be making a 0.7% agarose gel to do our gel electrophoresis. We are going to measure out 0.35 grams of agarose, and we're going to put it into this flask, and then we're going to add 50 milliliters of 1X TAE buffer. TAE stands for tris acetate EDTA. So I'm going to measure out my 0.35 grams. Like so. So I've got my 0.35 grams. We're going to pour that into the graduated cylinder. And then we're going to add our 1X TAE buffer. I've already measured it out, and then I have 50 mils here. So you just pour that in. If you swirl the flask a little bit like that, you'll notice that it's very cloudy and you can see little particles of agarose. So the agarose will not dissolve in until you boil. So to boil our sample, we are going to use the microwave. So we just put our sample in here, and we're going to microwave for, let's start with 1 minute. So I have microwaved our agarose and buffer solution. So if we swirl it a little bit, we can check to see if all of the particles of agarose have dissolved. So if you look at this this flask very closely, there are little particles of agarose that have not dissolved in yet. It's almost dissolved, but not quite. So we're going to have to put our flask back in the microwave and heat it for another probably 20 to 30 seconds. And that will probably get us to about ready to go, to where everything is dissolved in. I put my flask back in the microwave for another 30 seconds, and our at this point, the agarose has now dissolved in completely. So if you swirl it, you shouldn't see any little particles floating around in the agarose. You will notice that I'm wearing the orange glove. The orange glove is a heat glove, so that I don't burn myself when I'm touching the flask. The flask is going to be very, very hot because it did just come out of the microwave. So we're now going to let our flask cool for about 5 minutes, and then we can pour our gel.
You are ready.
Okay. So my agarose and buffer solution has now cooled down. So I'm going to be adding ethidium bromide to my sample. So our ethidium bromide is at a concentration of 10 milligrams per mil. I'm going to be adding 3 microliters to my flask of agarose and buffer. And the ethidium bromide is used to stain the DNA. So we incorporate it into our gel, so our DNA will be stained as it runs through the gel. You may notice that I'm working with the ethidium bromide by the hood. This is because ethidium bromide is toxic. It is a known carcinogen, and we have to do special waste disposal with ethidium bromide. So anything that ethidium bromide might have touched is going to be disposed of in the ethidium bromide waste container that we have. This includes things like pipette tips, any gloves that might have touched the ethidium bromide, paper towels, anything like that. Our agarose gel, after we have run our samples on it, is going to go into this waste bucket as well. So I'm now going to add my 3 microliters of ethidium bromide. The ethidium bromide is a red solution. It looks like that. So that is my 3 microliters. So all I do is put the tip into the solution, release the contents, and then my tip goes into the ethidium bromide waste container. So now what I'm going to do is swirl my flask to mix the ethidium bromide in, and now I can go pour my gel. So now we're ready to pour our gel. So this is the gel box. We're going to cast our gel in here, and we're also going to run our gel in this box. So this is the tray that we use for casting our gel and running our gel. You'll notice that there are rubber bumpers on the two open ends of the tray. So we're going to put our tray into the gel box like so. So the rubber bumpers should be flush with the size of the gel box. And if you look closely, you should see that there's a nice tight seal between the rubber bumper and the gel tray and the gel box. If you don't have a nice tight seal there, your gel is going to leak out of the tray, and then you're going to end up with a big mess inside your gel box. So now that we've added our ethidium bromide, we are going to pour our agarose buffer and ethidium bromide solution into the gel box. If there are any bubbles, we are going to try to pop them with a pipette tip. If we can't pop them, I like to just move them down to the edge of the bottom of the gel so we get a nice smooth surface for running our gel. And because this tip has now touched ethidium bromide, it will get discarded in the ethidium bromide waste container. Now, the next thing you need to have is your comb. I personally like to put the comb in after I have poured my gel. Some people like to pour their gel with the comb in already. It's really your personal preference. But your gel comb is going to go in just like so, and this is going to make wells in our gel. So you'll have little indentations where you can load your your sample. So if you look at the gel from the side, you should see that the comb is going to be down below the top surface of the gel, but it doesn't go all the way through your gel. And now we just have to wait for our gel to solidify.